Angela Brady, who's the current president of RIBA. There is a social aspect to tall buildings. What are your observations about how tall buildings are growing here in London, what's happened in the last 20 years, and the direction in which things are moving, good, bad, or indifferent?
Yeah, I think it depends on your client group. If it's a private developer, if it's an investor from overseas, or if it's a social housing group. Now, I have experience myself of working in a mixed social housing, key worker housing, and private in the Isle of Dogs, 22-story high building. We made sure that there was good community facilities because, as you say, I don't believe that you can make a community happen. The people have got to want to meet, they've got to have the opportunity to meet, they've got to have the conditions to be able to use a building properly so that they're not alone, they're not isolated, and that there is that kind of vibrancy to allow people to develop. So kids have a safe place to play, so the elders can be integrated into that society. So very often the best schemes are ones that have many aspects to the community centre, that their open space isn't a sea of cars or isn't used for other rented out to other people for car parking or anything like that, that you have open spaces and safe places to play, that you might even put in allotment gardens, raised planters, we've done that in one of our schemes, for example, and that you have a hard play area as well, because the soft play and the hard play can be quite different and attract different things. Diversity, biodiversity, how do you include nature? Is it a green scheme that you're doing? Is it sustainable? All of these things are so important no matter what we do for housing today. I think very often when you have private clients that are wealthy, if you look at the Shard, for example, the Shard is one of the future icons of London. It will, I believe, be a much loved building. But you've got to look carefully at the social aspects of these buildings. Are they only for one aspect? Are they for the very wealthy from overseas? Will they be empty? Will the public be allowed get into the building for free to look at the beautiful view from the tallest building around London? No, probably. And I think that whatever we do, we've really got to think sociability will make a building work. To have the whole urban structure open for people will make it safer to play in, safer to be in. Having a mixed use is more important now than ever before. A mixed use in a tall building in particular, where you will have maybe private or social housing mixed, where you might have maybe a hotel, you might have shops, you might have play areas, you might have a community centre. That mix, like a vertical village, is what will make a building work or not.
Are there any buildings out there right now that even begin to make that concept work, things that you're looking at?
Rogers Stark Harbour are building the cheese grater. It's nearly finished. It's in London. And it addresses an awful lot of the social aspects that are missing in other buildings. It's the permeability at ground floor level I think is key. Not to say, hey, this is our building, keep off, but hey, this is our building, welcome. Have a look around, come up and look at the view. There's cafes, there's restaurants, there's play areas, shops, clubs, whatever it might be. It's a friendly, sociable, attractive building, and we need more like that.
So many tall buildings are residential or office where a person will simply go to their destination, to their little cubby hole in this big tall building, and that is the primary reason for traffic in a tall building. So obviously to get that permeability you have to change some of that. What kind of design features can do that?
I think the actual way that offices are planned these days is changing away from the cellular, much more to open plan, still on a large plate, but that there are more activities happening on the one floor and that there's more identity either on that floor with that business or with the whole building itself, so that you don't get that facelessness to so many of the offices. I think that we need to continue the way we change. Do we need to actually still come to work with the technology that we have today? Do we need to travel into a city centre 40 hours a week, or even 7 days a week? I think that all of our buildings and all of the accessibility, particularly at the low level, should be 24/7, not gated, not closed. And I think that unless we have a mindset change to the way that we as individuals shop or use our carbon footprint or the way we travel, I think we need that mindset change now to address bigger issues which are about city, carbon footprint, sustainability, and the real issues that we as professionals have absolutely got a duty to do for our future cities and the future people.
I wanted to ask you about your objectives as the president of RIBA, and particularly the one that caught my interest was you wanted to work towards internationalizing member skills to be able to sell overseas. How do you internationalize people or a practice?
I think internationalising the RIBA as one of my main presidential objectives is key, because when there's not a lot of work in the UK, we've got hundreds, if not thousands, we've got 6,000 members, RIBA members, working overseas. They could maintain a fantastic link for our skills that we have in the UK to be shared internationally when there's huge development all over the world. If you look at the BRIC countries, for example, now they might not have all of the expertise right now that we have. So I think that if we can share our skills, partner with people on the ground over there, learn from them, they've been there for many years, and sharing knowledge, particularly around our sustainable future.
To sum up here, I looked up an interesting statistic on the council website that since over the last 20 years, that 22 of the 25 tallest buildings in London have gone up really since 2000, and that's an amazing change. And seeing some of the things that are going on in the financial district, it's an amazing transformation. Are you happy with what's been going on, and what are your fears?
There's been a huge amount of development of tall buildings in London over the last 10, 15 years. But I think that the real problem is, are they being built for end user clients? Are they being built as a financial investment? Are they being built for a need? We don't want to be building too many buildings that are going to sit empty. And that's why many of those buildings actually have gone on hold in the last few years. I think we need to rethink now. It's a time, are we building the right buildings for the future with the right mix? And now I think we've built too many buildings that are sitting empty. That is the big problem. Oversupply does no city any good. I think we've got to build for our current needs. We've got to build for the commercial and the private and the social sectors. We've got to build the right houses in a city in the right area. And I think if you look at the historic point of view as well, we've got to be very careful we don't kill the very thing that makes London, for example, so special, or any of our other cities like Manchester and Liverpool, who are vastly expanding. It's the culture, heritage and identity which makes these cities. Let's not ruin it with too many tall buildings with not enough thought about how they might actually be integrated in to the livelihoods of those people that are living there.
What does the next phase of development look like now that we have this shiny collection of new buildings? What's the next step?
I think the next step with any buildings, certainly for us in the UK, is the sustainability and long-term longevity of these buildings. Are these buildings flexible enough to change use easily? If we've built too much office, let's not let them sit there empty as office space. Can they be used for different uses? Could they be schools and colleges? Could they be residential? Could they be community? Could they be pop-up for 5-year leases? We've got to think flexibly whatever we do and not just have this mono building, because if that mono-ness, whatever it is, whether it be office or residential, fails, we're left with a dysfunctional city. And I think that the need at the moment is for mixed tenure dwellings, homes for people. And if we're going up at the moment, let's make the best homes for the future that we can do now.
Angela Brady is the current president of the Royal Institute of British Architects, and thanks for coming to see us in London.
That's great. Thanks very much, Jeff.